Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pdxMindShare Lunch and Learn workshop hosted by Anvil Media. This webinar is being recorded and we will be posting it online momentarily within a couple of days after this presentation. Today's topic, how to create a fulfilling and financially rewarding career. I just want to make sure that I'm still recording. Great, we're all good. So my name is Kent Lewis. I am the founder of pdxMindShare, which originally started as a concept in 1999, just about the same year, or just slightly before I founded Anvil. It is a networking group, career community that is on LinkedIn. We have a website and we have a monthly newsletter. I'm guessing you may be familiar with Mindshare because you're attending this webinar. If you found out through Anvil, just as well, or through my network, I'm on the Twitter at Kent J. Lewis. You can check out and follow pdxMindShare as well on the Twitter and other social platforms, as well as Anvil Media. All of those are fairly obvious names and profiles to follow, and we encourage you to stay up on the latest career information and news on pdxMindShare, where we have a blog, we have a podcast, we put a bunch of content up on YouTube as well. So without further ado, let's talk about our topic today, and that's for creating a fulfilling career. So I'm going to start with my career journey just to frame up why you might want to listen to anything I'm saying, just for context and credibility purposes, and it may, who knows, be helpful. And then I'm going to talk about finding your dream job, a quick quiz. There's an article and a clickable link, and you can also look it up yourself online, how to find your dream job, Kent Lewis, Anvil. And then 6 steps to a fulfilling, rewarding career. I'm going to go through each of those steps and then add a brief few best practices to help build momentum across your career, strategies and tactics. There are a few additional links in our resources section. Again, you will be able to get a copy of this as an attendee, and we'll notify everybody once the recording is up on the interwebs. So let's start with my journey. Basically, I started after graduating from college with a business degree and a marketing concentration, started a PR career in '94 in Seattle briefly before moving to Portland in early '95. I knew one person, my cousin, when I first moved here. I know quite a few more people now as part of my journey, and I'll share some tips on how I've done that in case you are at all interested. Let's move this up over into the corner here. So the biggest change in my career is when I had the opportunity to shift gears away from PR and into the world of search marketing, or internet marketing, or web marketing as it was originally called back in '96. And I was self-taught. There were no articles. There were no publications dedicated to digital marketing. There were no conferences. There were no textbooks, no classes. Everybody that was in search in '96, or even a few of those folks earlier than me, were all self-taught and experimenting as they went. I transitioned that knowledge within 4 years to launching an agency as a co-founder in '99 with an agency called WaveRock. And then a year and a half later, I left that agency to do my own thing as Anvil, not ready to fully hire. So it took me a few more agency experiences before I dedicated fully to Anvil in effectively January '04. But I started Mindshare late '99, early 2000. It started to gain momentum in 2002. It's been going originally as a monthly networking event, and now as a monthly newsletter and regular posts and podcasts on our blog. Informational resource looking for you to build your career with content like this. Over my career, I've worked at 9 agencies. I founded 2 of those, co-founded 2 of those. And the only non-agency world I've been in on the client side effectively has been 2 contract gigs for a total of 6 months, 3 months each. Enough to give me a taste and help me understand I'm an agency guy by hard wiring. Now, via Mindshare, I have met hundreds of people over the years, maybe thousands, I don't know. But I have heard all their stories, and I've learned both why I do what I do and why others do what they do. So again, Anvil's a day job, pdxMindShare is the passion. My career focus was co-founding SEM-PDX, our trade organization, a lot of great digital marketing information on that website, sempdx.org. You can learn more about search marketing at my workshop coming up in May through the Portland State University CEPE program, Continuing Ed. It's part of a digital certification. Just Google SEM PSU workshop. And then I also am in early April teaching my quarterly SCORE social media marketing workshop. You're welcome to join me. More information on our website or the Portland SCORE website. And again, I regularly write and I teach. That's part of who I am. So that's part of my career, is giving back. And we'll talk more about what that means in terms of translating that for you. So my journey via thought leadership, so that's what that says, is that I've built my reputation and my business or businesses while I've worked for other people and in previous iterations. I have been securing speaking engagements. I've probably averaged 20 to 30 speaking engagements a year, local, regional, and nationally, and occasionally internationally. I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the glory. I do it to get in front of potential clients to help build whatever agency I've been at the time. It's mainly been ad hoc, people asking me to speak. Every once in a while, I reach out and pitch myself with some success. I found that the secret is to start local and go regional and national as you build a reputation. If public speaking is at all of interest, or you're a marketer, a biz dev type of person, it can be very powerful. I also write regularly, once or twice a month on average for the last 10 to 15 years or more. And I typically, instead of writing for our blog at Anvil or pdxMindShare, I typically write on the SEM-PDX blog. I write for Smart Brief. I write for a couple other publications. And I've been taking advantage of my PR background by submitting for, or just knowing what to do when we get any recognition or awards in the industry for our business, the way we run our business, or for our discipline, and get that out there. That's a great way to build reputation, both personally and professionally. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm all about education. So adjunct at Portland State for 20 years, an instructor for SCORE for 5 or 6 years. And I try to support both my digital marketing industry locally, regionally, nationally, and Oregon and Portland businesses in the community. That's why at Anvil we have a quarterly charity of choice where we do in-kind pro bono work for local charities and nonprofits. So that's kind of my journey in thought leadership, which has really helped me build my career. Not everybody enjoys public speaking. I think it's right up there with death and taxes. So not for everybody. So what is right for you? Let's talk about that. How do you find your dream job? I think most people say, well, I just look for it, but how do you look for it? How do you know when you've found it? I learned from a roommate many moons ago that the way to find your soulmate in life, so switching gears from career briefly, is to know exactly, or with a high degree of confidence, who you're looking for, who that soulmate is, how they look, how they act, what they care about, all of that. And I think it's the same thing with your job. So what I did with my soulmate is I wrote down what mattered: sense of humor, physically fit, well-traveled, worldly, highly educated. I wanted to meet somebody smarter than me. And to prove the point, when I saw it sounds shallow, but I didn't know who it was at the time. I was at the gym and I knew I'd written down years earlier that calves and triceps are important muscle groups that can't be faked. And so that inherently is a great way to assess somebody's genetic gift or their fitness. And I saw these amazing calves on the leg press. And when she got up, I realized it was my client at the time. I invited her to a Super Bowl party, 2 kids, and 18 plus years later, it's history. And I believe the same thing is true with your job. Look at what your dream job looks like. What industry, discipline, what is your role? What does the company do? What is their mission? How does it align with your core mission, vision, and values? That's obviously a good starting point, is to map all that out. So ideally, you have a sense of path. You have a sense of your path and your purpose in life. Why do you get up? Why do you exist? Why are you put on this planet? And then map that to that business's purpose and their core values. For me, it's all about community and giving back. That's originally why I hired employees, was so I could do nonprofit work and not have to pay top dollar to outsource the execution of that pro bono work. Embracing accountability and opportunity. That's, I think, an important success factor when being able to find your dream job, is to show that you're worthy and that you own up to your responsibilities and you see the opportunity. It was a huge trust fall when I moved from PR to internet marketing. Nobody knew what it was, and nobody knew if I was any good or if it was even anything more than a fad. I took that chance, that leap, and it shaped my career. And so for your dream job, how it should look is it's a source of energy and enjoyment. It shouldn't look or feel like work at all. That's how you know that it's working, is that you go into work with a certain level of energy and you go home with more energy than when you came. So it's creating energy and it's creating enjoyment, and mostly it doesn't feel like work. So when you get a copy of this PDF, click on the link, take the little quiz, and it should help you frame up and help you define what your dream job is. I feel like I'm in my dream job, not just because I'm my own boss, but I get to do fun projects, and sometimes we do trade with certain brands. And we did some work with this group called Wide Open Sports, where we did a snowmobile adventure. We've done wakeboarding and water skiing, over the past 15 plus years. And this is a photo from our adventure to Frog Lake. Tons of fun. And that's just one of the benefits of being able to know you're in your dream job, is typically you get to do these things and you have some influence or control over those outcomes. So let's talk about the core. I just realized there are 6 steps because I retooled them as I was building this deck based on the article I wrote. They're really, you can boil it down to 5, but if you want to get technical, there are 6 steps. So let's talk about those right now. Number 1, identify your purpose. I talked about this. If you know Simon Sinek, you can see the visual here. Google him, watch his YouTube on Find Your Why or Start With Why. He has a bunch of TEDx talks about it. If you can plug your why into your career, then it's not work. Typically, when you're good at something and you're passionate about it, you transcend, you get from a 0 capability to a 10 expert level, and that's where the real money is. It's on a money curve. The people that make the most money are 8s, 9s, or 10s at what they do, regardless of industry or discipline. So what you want to do is figure out your key driver. What is your reason for living? What gets you up in the morning? What motivates you? So it may be mission. If a mission motivates you, that's typically the how, but you want to know the why. So I created a mission statement shortly after graduating college. It was that I like to educate, entertain, and connect. I basically came up with that right after college, and I've tried to evolve it, and I just keep coming back to these core 3 legs of the stool. Number 1 is I love to educate others. I'm doing it right now as we speak or you listen. I have been an adjunct for 20 years. I have taught at 4 or 5 different organizations, or 4 of them, and I've worked with over 1,000 clients over the years. And really what I'm doing is educating them on how to build their business more successfully through digital marketing. Entertaining. I love to entertain. If I cannot make you laugh, I'm not sure why I'm here. And whether it's at my own expense, hopefully not your expense, I like to keep people entertained, to make any delivery more enjoyable. I educate. Although I educate, I use a lot of entertainment throughout that education to make it stick and make it more interesting and enjoyable and memorable. And then I like to connect. pdxMindShare. So I educate through my teaching, typically in and outside of Anvil. I entertain in and outside of Anvil, and I connect mostly through Mindshare, but also through Anvil. It gives me great enjoyment when I've connected 2 people that didn't know each other and they suddenly feel they're far better off for it. That gives me immense joy. I like to connect dots, problem solve. I have this struggle. I see the answer over there. I help bring it together for my team, for my clients, for my friends and family. That's a personal enjoyment. In fact, it's really difficult. If you were to say, I just want to tell you something, but I don't want your advice, that's a really difficult ask for me. I want to fix everything. I want to connect the dots. So that's purpose. What gets you up? What is your key driver? Read or watch Simon Sinek, and you'll understand what that means. Take that first step, because that's your underlying infrastructure and your fuel. Then I slightly pivoting that is to discover your passion. So what that means is, what do you enjoy the most that doesn't feel like work? Meaning, if you could get paid to do it, it would just be a bonus. And I will tell you, I get paid very little to speak. I get paid nothing to entertain, and I rarely monetize my connecting. So it's not, it doesn't feel like work. Unfortunately, I don't directly get paid for most of it, but under the guise of Anvil, the umbrella, including PDxMindShare, there is monetization in some way that helps me pay the bills, which is important. Interests. What do you get? What do you do in your spare time? And maybe you wish you could get paid, maybe not. So one common conundrum I get from woke individuals I've been talking to over the years through Mindshare is I get paid really well to do X, Y, Z, but I'd really love to do PDQ. So in one case, specific case, one of my friends is a really gifted graphic designer. She gets paid very well for it. And this is 15 years ago. She was already burned out after 10 or 15 years in the industry. And she's like, what I really want to do is nonprofit work. It gives me great joy and purpose. It's my passion. But it doesn't pay anything. It would not pay. So my suggestion, which is nothing more than a suggestion, was think about doing your, you work your way down to a 30-hour week as a high-paid graphic designer. It's not passion, but you're very good at it. Efficacy is very high. And then you take that other 10 to 20 hours of the week and put it towards a nonprofit, asking for virtually no compensation. And it's that feel good. So you get the cash for your expertise, and then you get to apply your expertise and your passion to that nonprofit. Problem solved. So that's one way to look at it. And what do you not enjoy? What are your weaknesses? What are your blind spots? Do less of that. So shift the view of the mountain and the valley. So behind every mountain, there's a corresponding valley. So if you move the view, so all I see is your strengths, then I don't have to look at the corresponding valley. And so what I've done at Anvil, I have certain weaknesses, and I've built a team around my weaknesses that is their core strength and their passion. It's not work to them. I don't have to do it. I don't have to mess it up. I don't have to get stressed about it. I get to do what I love: speaking, writing, evangelizing, right? So that's discovering your passion and mitigating your weaknesses, frankly. And then step 3 is setting an end goal. I think it's so important. One of the least common things I see, probably, I think less than 10% of people set goals in any size or scope or duration. And without goals, there is no end game. So I had set a goal back in 1997, find my soulmate. And these are the criteria. And within 5 years, I had found her. And then also, I had other goals. One of my first goals was a 1-year goal to double my salary, which is insane. I wasn't making much at the time, so it was a little easier than if I was making a lot. And I ostensibly did that by when I was recruited to another firm. I gave them a number when they asked that was twice my current salary, and we came in just under that. I considered checking that one off. I had a 3-year goal. I had a 5-year goal. One of my 5-year goals was to own a BMW M3. This is an M3 lightweight. This car is worth $70,000 to $100,000 or more, depending on who the previous owner and the provenance is. By the time I could afford to buy an M3, which were at the 60 to 70 grand range at the time, I absolutely decided not to do that. So your goals can change. It didn't seem, by the time I could afford it, they were 80, 85 grand. I was like, no way. So instead, I bought a much cheaper 3 Series BMW that had a lot of bells and whistles, made it fast. It's unique. There are not very many of them. And it was half the price. And I still drive it today, and I love it. And I bought that in 2005. So I checked that goal off because I could do it. I chose not to. Other goals I achieved as well. And then every year I set a new set of goals. I recommend not less than 5, not more than 10 on my experience. And I typically divide it in thirds. Personal goals around typically diet, exercise, health, family, friends, community, and then professional. And I try to do, roughly 3 of each. And then I put a sticker on the side of my dresser, and I look at those goals every day. And that was the secret to my success over 23 years ago, was looking at them on my nightstand, which was really an old file cabinet. Every day was the first thing and last thing I saw. Number 4, map out your timeline. So, I had multiple timelines for multiple goals. So, set your career milestones. One goal I had when I was 25 was to have the option to retire at 40. And I knew I wouldn't retire at 40 because I'm too insane. You could argue I'm a workaholic, but I don't see it all as work. I see it as my passion and my purpose. Be that as it may, I was somewhat enlightened now. I could have technically retired at 40 if I sold everything, somehow pawned off my 2 children or 3 children, and moved to Thailand or somewhere that's really affordable. Instead, I am, planning for children's college and other expenses. So I'm still working, but I at least had the wokeness to say to control my schedule by the time I'm 40, meaning not my schedule doesn't control me. And more or less that's been the case for most of the last 20 years because I run Anvil and I control that. But the last 15 have been dedicated to Anvil, 15 to 17 years. So start at the end. What is your retirement goal? How old do you want to be? How much money do you need? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Do you want a simple, austere lifestyle in the Oregon Central Plains? Or do you want to be in the inner city in the downtown Manhattan? Very different goals, very different lifestyles. Work your way back by year, quarter, month, week, and day, because you can reverse engineer what we call a painted picture and determine what those incremental moves should be. How many resumes do I need to send, or how much time do I need to put in to achieve this goal at work to get to that next job title or pay increase, or the next role, whatever it is. So those are all important in mapping out your timeline. Then it's what you know. So how does my formal education help me? So there's no reason not to leverage what you know. As I mentioned with the graphic designer, she continued to leverage her graphic design experience. Not all of her pro bono work for charities was design related. It was other areas of need or interest. But typically, you look at your education, however formal it was, whether it's some high school, some college, or advanced PhD, is you should leverage as much of that as possible. Most of my friends in search marketing have a poli-sci communications degree, maybe a math degree. Almost none of them have a computer science degree, and none of them have a digital marketing degree because they don't exist, not in any meaningful size or shape. So leverage your formal education. What additional education do you need? What other experience, what work experience in the past can you leverage? By that, I mean, I weigh heavily on a, positively, if you've worked in the restaurant or other service industry where you're working and interfacing with customers regularly, especially high volume, where it's really hard to connect with people and delight them, where most customers may be unhappy or apathetic. If you've managed that little and thrived in it, I consider it a big bonus. I once hired a gal because she sold encyclopedias for a summer. Turns out she didn't know how to use Excel, never heard of it. That doesn't work in our business, but she had the right can-do attitude. What life skills and experiences can benefit your journey? So overcoming fear of heights, widths, speaking, spiders, gaining certain, physical acumen, if that's important. If you want to be a firefighter or a cop, or in the military, there's certain fitness requirements, for example. Identifying gaps in that ideal job. How do I get from here to here? What gaps do I need to fill? And build a roadmap for those. So one roadmap for me was to stay as far away from calculus as possible, any advanced math. I dropped out of calculus in high school because I knew I was going to get a C or less, and I didn't want to ruin my GPA, and I knew I wouldn't need calculus because I totally planned ahead. When I got into Western Washington University up in Bellingham, I realized I took it, I got it. Oh, I do have to take calculus? Shoot. So I took it, got a C minus, said, good, I won't have to take that again. But I piddled away my GPA so bad to get into business school, I had to retake calculus. And in order to get in, I had to get an A minus. I got an A, got into business school. Here I am today. Conquering my fear of calculus was the greatest single accomplishment, academically speaking, of my career. I kicked its ass instead of letting it kick my ass, and then I put it to bed, never to use again. This step 6, did I number these right? Yeah, all right, harness your strengths, right? So this is a little bit, sorry for the modification there on the animation, but this is a little bit about purpose meets passion. But it's really what are you hardwired to do better than everybody else? It's your true unique ability as determined by strategic coach, which you can click and research more, or Google it, or Freak Factor, Dave Rendell. I had Dave speak to my team last month about harnessing their freak factor. Basically take every antonym, every complaint, every criticism anybody's ever made of you, and Google the antonym, and those are your strengths, right? And so you can also take Strengths Finder or 16 Personalities to understand your personality, to understand who you interface with best, how to interface well with others. And these are all important tools to help you get along in your day. Start by asking friends, family, and coworkers, what do you think I do that's uniquely me, that I do better than most, if not everybody? And people will tell you remarkably the same thing. And most people don't really realize what their freak factor is, their unique ability. So it's worth doing that exercise. By the way, 16 Personalities is free. So I recommend doing it and then having it handy for employers or coworkers to reference and how to best communicate with you. So these are the 5 steps to a rewarding career. And I'm going to wrap up with some best practices to build momentum in these. So identify your purpose, your core reason for being. Try to connect and triangulate with your passion, what doesn't feel like work. Set goals, map out a timeline, evaluate what you know, what you've been trained to do, identify the gaps, build a roadmap into, your goals and timelines. And then at the last part is harnessing your strengths, because that's going to be the how to get there, right? Is utilizing your strengths when at all possible. So a few best practices to plant the seed. It's an old photo from 10, 15 years ago from pdxMindShare, when we used to do physical networking events. That was at Masu. So build and nurture a network. And I can't tell you how few people do this well. It's a farmer game. Most salespeople are hunters, so they only network as hunters, like literally predators. And the true networkers that are successful build and nurture relationships by adding value, connecting regularly, checking in, helping others. That's what I've been doing through MindShare for many years. I simply ask 2 questions. What's your story? Because I don't know if they're unemployed, employed, happy or unhappy with that status. And how can I help? And guess what? Mostly I did at those events is connected people that I thought should know each other. And I've seen people move on, maybe no weddings, I'm not Match.com, but business partnerships, other client vendor relationships. I helped employers find talent. I helped talent find employers. And so it worked really well. But I did that by building a network and curating over 20 some years. Leverage the informational interview. I just wrote an article last month about how to do an informational interview, meaning how to secure a great informational interview and a few tips on what to do to get the most out of it. Never lose that thirst for learning. Any smart employer is going to try and hire people that never feel that their potential is never maximized. It's an antiquated example, but Tiger Woods used to play golf, unfortunate accident and some other mid-career problems, but he kept changing his stroke even when he was the best golfer in the world. He never stopped learning and tweaking. And most golfers or professional athletes would never do that, at least change a critical component of their game. He did it nonstop, and we'll probably have to do it again if he wants to get back in and play professionally. And then what I do most, pay it forward. I send the elevator back down to those that want to take the ride up next, not behind me or after, just after me. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm in a certain place in time where I can help others. A couple tips from the professionals. Number 1, be responsive. If you want to win, if you want to beat others out for a job or a promotion or help get to your ideal place, your dream job faster, do it by being responsive. Got your email? I'll be right back to you. Thanks for the voicemail. I'll call you right back. Or just do it. Just hit them back right away. But it drives me crazy when clients, employees, coworkers, friends and vendors don't respond to me because I don't know if they're dead or not. And in the COVID era, that's a very real thought. Sick, dying, whatever. So get back. I've got your message. I'm on it. And then stay top of mind by sending regular notes at appropriate intervals every, 2 to 4 weeks, let's say, depending on what the purpose is. I have a degradation concept in my methodology for selling. I might hit people, a couple days out, then every other week, or every week, then every other week, then every other month, et cetera, until I know that relationship has lapsed, that sale opportunity. but I try to stay top of mind by creating content and becoming that thought leader I mentioned. I always try to help others to build karma and not try not to cash in those chits. And then it's important that you understand the difference between being productive and being busy. Being productive is you can be focused, time block, remove distractions, alerts and updates on your phone, and just get things done. People that multitask don't multitask. You're switch tasking. You're losing minutes and hours a day by constantly doing too many things, which I tend to do. But if I need to get something done, I will block, turn off my notifications and bang something out. Then I'll go back and check mail. It's always good, though, to set expectations with your coworkers, compadres. I'm going to be out of commission for the next 1 to 3 hours, whatever that is. Set the expectation so nobody's upset. They'll understand. And then create a LinkedIn presence. I don't know why I have to still say this, but claim and optimize your profile. Start with your title, which can be anything. You can see mine as president, founder, Anvil, media expert, speaker, author, influencer. I post articles. I blog on my LinkedIn profile. Very few people do. It's where I put all my career and business related posts, including the informational interview article. I post status updates hourly during the week to make sure people see me that are my target audience, marketers mainly. And then I'm networking. I'm participating in LinkedIn groups. I'm using every aspect of LinkedIn. I used to, upload slides and so forth. Really LinkedIn, YouTube's taken over a lot of that with these types of recordings. I syndicate those updates to Twitter. I have a separate world for Facebook that's all personal, but it's different. Our business profiles are different than that. Update your skills, ask for endorsements and recommendations to build your credibility. You can see I've received 94 recommendations, given 76. You don't want those to be exactly even. All that is bootstrapping. But take advantage of all these. I've got articles and webinars on this. And then build your social strategy. I have a whole 2-hour workshop next in 2 weeks with Score. I use Hootsuite. It's gotten very expensive over the years. I've been using it for a decade or more. I schedule my posts on LinkedIn and Twitter through there primarily. I monitor tags and hashtags and keywords, and then it does automatic weekly reporting for me. And Sprout Social and others do the same. You can see I have a strategy, LinkedIn to Twitter, Instagram to Facebook. On the personal side, I blog regularly on multiple sites, and then I started a podcast. It's in hiatus right now, but we have a dozen episodes that we did. And then I'm a guest on another episode, Let's Talk Marketing with Nathan Webster. We just did one on Ryan Reynolds and why he's the best marketer of all time. Check that out in my feed. And to grow your following on social, of course, which helps if you're going to build your dream career, is to grow the following that way by identifying influencers, following and engaging them, and putting out a bunch of good vibes and thanking people and following people, and that they typically follow back, etc. There's an article on that as well. So these are some resources for you to keep in mind. They're all hyperlinkable. So when you get the PDF, it should be highly valuable and useful. And the recording, which will end up on our YouTube account and syndicated through social, will be helpful if you want to recapture some of what I've said. I just want to thank Anvil Media, our sponsor. If you're ever interested in getting a free audit of your online presence as a business, just fill out the form on the homepage or the contact page, or any of the service area pages if you need help with SEO or paid search or social or whatever. And then just a reminder to visit the website regularly, pdxMindShare. You can post jobs, you can review job board, you can post events, you can look at the event calendar, check out our podcasts and our blog and our resource section. And if you're an employer, you can sponsor a job or feature job, or just sponsor the website or social, and then join our LinkedIn group with over 11,000 members worldwide. So I just mentioned the MindShare next steps, but you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out our insights section at Anvil. We have a ton of articles, blog posts, white papers, webinars, and we have an event calendar to see where we're speaking next. And you can send me an email with any questions at any time. And that will conclude our webinar for today. I want to thank you for your time and look forward to catching you at the next webinar next month. It's always the second Wednesday of the month. And check out, again, pdxMindShare's calendar and Anvil's calendar for more information. Thanks again for your time, and we'll see you online. Bye-bye.